It's hard to know what are actually your beliefs, because what we believe, especially unconsciously, tends to feel like that's just reality. That's just how things are. And if you believe that, and if it feels that way to you, then you don't even think of a possibility of changing it. And this is what gets us into a lot of trouble, because we can't fulfill our potential this way. And if we can't fulfill our potential this way, there's going to be suffering. Fulfilling your potential is fulfillment itself. Let's take this a little bit deeper. So yesterday was kind of a bird's eye view. And I know it was a bit of a challenge for some of you, and it's really hard to go give you everything in one live or one sitting like this. So we started off very broad yesterday, and now we're going to zero in a little bit more here. Now, a great way to find out what are your generalizations, what are your beliefs, how to sort of smoke them out, uncover them, is through the first NLP model there ever was, the meta model, which is a language-based model. So it's through listening to your own language or listening to someone else's language that you can then begin to see what are the limitations you're experiencing and expose them. For example, there's 2 meta model patterns that are very, very effective in pulling out limiting beliefs. And that is a cause-effect pattern and what we call complex equivalences. Cause-effect is a belief that you think one thing causes another. The part about this belief that can be difficult is that if you believe that one thing causes another, especially if it's out of your hands, then you're at the mercy of such a pattern. And so we want to question that. Are you really? Does it really work that way? And then complex equivalences is basically how you make meaning of certain things. You experience something and you say, well, this must mean X. So I'll give you some examples. A cause-effect pattern might be, because I was made fun of when I was a kid, I'm shy. Okay? Lots of people say things like that. Because of this, I am this. Because of that, this happens to me, or something like that. It's usually, when we talk about our limiting beliefs, it has something that I'm involved somehow, or you're involved somehow. Now, that's the cause-effect pattern. Because I was made fun of when I was a kid, I am shy. A complex equivalence would be a slightly different. I might say something like, I'm shy, which means I'm not assertive. That could be a cause-effect if I had used because, but that's not what a complex equivalence is. It's you take one thing and you equate it with another. So I'm shy, which means I'm not assertive. That's a complex equivalence. Now, I don't want you to worry too much about these definitions and the exact right words for these patterns. That's not what's important here. What's important here is to be able to recognize this in your own thinking and in your own language. Now, I had a really bad cause-effect belief that even after doing years of NLP training, I didn't know it was there. It was affecting my life. It was causing me to behave a certain way. I didn't even know it was there. And that's why I'm calling this out, that a lot of your beliefs you're not even aware of. And those are the ones that have the most control over you, the ones that limit you the most, because you're not even aware of them. If you're not aware of them, you can't do anything about it. So for the longest time, even after I got into NLP, I couldn't seem to get a business going or have a job that I really, really liked. There wasn't a single job in my entire life that I could say that I really, really liked. I had good jobs. I could acknowledge that. And then my last job, I remember quitting and thinking to myself, it's time to go into business, and that's what's going to make me happy, being my own boss. And there were definitely benefits to being my own boss that I really enjoyed, but I really didn't enjoy the work. And that was when I became an insurance agent. And I started to notice a lot of these patterns where whenever I would go to do something to make money, it was usually something I didn't enjoy. I was a bartender for many, many years, 10 years, believe it or not. And I really didn't enjoy it. And I started thinking about that. Well, what is this about? And then when I would go to do something that I did really enjoy, I didn't usually factor money into it. Like, could I make money at this? I mean, I thought those things sometimes, but it never felt like a reality to me. And then one day I was writing. I journal every morning. Love journaling. It's so good. I really recommend that as a practice. And I recommend handwriting your journals every morning. They call it morning pages from the artist way. That's where I got it from. And I was struggling with something. I was like, I don't really know what's there. And After throwing a lot of NLP at this, I still couldn't smoke it out. And then one day it just popped out. And that belief was, I can't make money doing what I enjoy because that's not the way the world works for me. I knew that there were other people who made money doing what they enjoy. I fully accepted that as reality. But for my reality, I was like, no, I don't believe that. I don't believe that reality works for me that way. And it was rather astonishing when I wrote that out. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. I can see how this is affecting my behavior. I find a way to not make money doing things I enjoy. And I tend to gravitate to doing things that I don't enjoy in order to make money because I believe that's the only possible way for me. So I went to work on this right away whenever I realized this was a belief that I had. When you recognize meta-model violations, you can start to challenge it. Now, let's say I had said, people can't make money doing what they enjoy because that's not the way the world works. I know that there are some people who believe that. And then you can then challenge that by saying, is that absolutely true for all people? You can find many, many examples of people who know they actually do enjoy their work quite a bit. I'm one of them. So when you start challenging it, you can start finding what we call counterexamples, examples that go counter to the limiting belief. Now, if somebody had challenged me like that and said, wait a minute, Damon, when I first had this belief, I can't make money doing what I enjoy because that's not the way the world works for me. Or rather, if I said it more broadly and generally, like that's just how the world works, somebody could have challenged me using the meta model. And I'd say, okay, you know what? You're right. There are people in the world who do enjoy their work and they make good money doing it. And then I could have pulled that belief back and said, it's not true for me though. I can't do that. Other people can do it, I can. And then a good meta modeler would then say, have you never, ever made money doing something you enjoy? And just by asking me that question, I would have to go into my experience, subverting the overall generalization, and get honest with myself. And then I'd have to say, no, that's not true. That's not true. I have made money doing things that I enjoy. And then they could turn the question the other way and say, is it absolutely true that every time you've ever made money, it was only from something you didn't enjoy? And again, I would have to go, no, that's not true. So we begin to soften the belief and we start to bring our attention to the opposite, examples that show that this isn't actually true. Taking the belief, challenging it, finding counterexamples to the meaning of that belief. And I want you to start to itemize those examples and notice where you store in your personal space examples that go counter to the belief, and then also the examples that support the belief. So remember, the belief or the generalization is held in place by you grouping examples together, focusing on what's common to all of them, and then categorizing them in a certain meaning. So you find out what the belief is, and you could call that the generalization, the category. Know that that category is based on evidence, examples that you're paying attention to. And how you flip a belief is you give more attention and credence to the examples that support what you want to believe. Now, somebody might say, well, isn't that fooling myself? No, it's not. Unless, if it's fooling yourself, then you were fooling yourself from the beginning. Because if you're taking real life examples and you're creating any generalization around it, in a sense, what you're doing is you're fooling yourself. You're creating a lie. But the truth is, that's okay, because there's no way to actually know 100% objective truth around this. You cannot say categorically, objectively, absolutely, that it is one way or the other. You can only arrange evidence and information and examples to support what it is you want to believe. And the great thing about this is, as long as you're using real examples that actually happened, you're basing it on some level of truth. So what I'm getting at here is your beliefs are really just a matter of what information you want to pay enough attention to that will support what it is you want to believe. Now, you have to be careful with this because you also want it to be somewhat rooted in accuracy here. You don't want to put a microscope on things so that you can believe things that are just so disconnected from reality. So, you hear me saying on the one hand, we can't know 100% objective reality. But on the other hand, if we become too detached from it, then that creates a problem as well. So if you've been along for the ride on these lives that I've been doing, you've heard me talk about this, your map of reality. You don't live in objective reality. You live according to your map of reality. You want 3 things in that map. And you can apply this to everything that I just said about your beliefs. You want choices. 1 option is not a choice. 2 options is not a choice. They call that a dilemma. You need at least 3 options. You need multiple options to really have a sense that you have choice. So if you feel like you don't have a choice, and we say that a lot, well, I don't have a choice. As soon as you hear yourself say that, go, wait a minute, question that. You always have choices. When you say I don't have a choice, it means you're blocking out choices. You're blocking it outside, you're pushing it outside of your map. So make sure your map of reality, or your beliefs about who you are in the world around you, is rich with choices. The other thing you want is rich with resources. Resources meaning not external resources, meaning the resources you have inside. And you all have, well, what we say in NLP is we all have all of the resources we need within us to accomplish anything that we want. And I do believe that.